And we are live. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. It is the Friday night, February 25th late show. I am Mark Zasky. I'll be sitting in tonight for Carrie Arnold, who is hopefully safely transiting from the high desert back into the lowlands somewhere in Mississippi. Safely, right? I want to welcome our other guest host, Iron Dogger. This is Jackie. Jackie, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Sitting in for Bradley. So I got my Bradley shirt on.
That's awesome. And then tonight we got a special guest. This is a good buddy of mine. We're gonna be interviewing and talking with Mikey V tonight about what's been going on with 168 when he was there, and also what's been going on since. So anyway, without any further ado, I want to introduce Mike, and I want to thank everybody who's in the chat too. By the way, you guys in the chat, let's try to keep that clean. That was one thing Carrie said, right? We got our moderators in there, and so you guys behave.
I'll be on my best behavior.
I'm going to be on my best behavior. So if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it, right? Anybody can. Okay, so Mike.
Yes.
I met you at 168.
Yes.
And I was like, who's this guy, man? He just kind of like showed up. What was the deal with that?
I was attempting to guess where you guys were when I spoke to Kerry the first time. I thought I had a pretty good idea where 168 was gonna be, so I messaged him, and I never expect to hear from him back. I was fishing with my friends on a boat. We were a mile out, and Kerry messaged me back, and they were already at 168. So he asked me, "Where do you think we are?" And I said, "This one area," and he said, "Well, kinda."
Yeah.
And he said, "But what I said to him, he's like, why don't you come down anyway?" So Kerry invited me down, and he told me where it was, and I drove down, and then it happened from there.
Yeah, and I remember meeting you when you showed up, and one of the first things that you said to me was, "Yo, is where we're going safe."
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking to myself, so far, you know what I mean? I mean, like weird stuff, but we haven't been.
Because I've been all around in the Florida woods, so I know what's out there besides other things, so. Yeah,
and I was like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. But why don't you just give us a little lowdown on some of your experiences at 168? Like, just start from the first time you went in these areas, and let us know.
Well, the first time that I went in was with Bobby White and Jimmy Barr. I think it was day 2 I got there. It was a daytime short little run. It was nothing too spectacular. I think that was the day they actually found the footprint also. No, they found it the day before, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
But
that was the afternoon of the very first day.
Okay, yeah. So there was the second day that I got there. We went out shortly, then we came back, and then we went out that night. And that's when we went to the one area. And when we were heading towards the crossroads is what happened to me. I still don't know exactly what it was, but that's what happened.
Because it was dark.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, what happened? What happened to you?
I think it was close to 11, maybe midnight. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. But me and Jimmy Barr were walking down that path, and we were walking, and I had this flashlight in my hand. It's like a 2.5 foot flashlight, and I just had it. I was holding it loosely, but I was holding it, and we were walking down towards the crossroads area, and it just got hit out of my hand. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And the flashlight, my hand was my.
I was talking with you the other day, and you said you were really close to the bushes.
Yes. It's not a narrow path, but the way me and Jim were walking, he was on my right, and I had my shoulder almost to the tree line. And when I was walking, it went, even the way Jimmy tells the story, it went at least, I don't know, maybe 6-8 feet in front of me, and it went spiraling out of my hand.
And you felt something jar it, or what was the deal with that?
My hand never moved. The flashlight took the whole hit.
But it was hit.
Oh, yeah. It left my hand, and my arm wasn't even swinging. It spun 6 to 8 feet in front of us, and I thought that another member, Chad, was right behind me. So I turned around waiting for him to say, "Oh, my bad, dude. I thought he just wasn't looking," and he hit me. And he hit the flashlight, looking the other way or something. I turned around and Chad was at least, I don't know, 60, 70 yards back. So I spun around to Jim. I grabbed, because Jim said, "Wasn't that your flashlight?" And that's when I turned around to look at Chad, thinking he's right there.
Yeah.
I put my hand on Jim's shoulder. I think I actually probably drew blood. I grabbed him so hard. And I said, "Right there, right effing there,"
In the bushes right there, yeah.
Yeah. We both spun around. Jim had the parabolic on at the time too, so I don't think he could actually pinpoint where sounds and things were coming from, because he had the earphones on, and the parabolic is just, you hear everything. You can't really pinpoint which way it's coming from,
Yeah.
But when I pointed, he looked that way, and we never saw or heard anything after that. I picked the flashlight up, and it never worked again. That's how hard it got hit. And you saw it. You remember the flashlight. That thing's meant for hitting things. You know what I mean? Like it's
like
it's
a mag
stout.
light.
Yeah, but it was a mag light plus. Let's just put it that way. Mark knows, but anyway,
like
the thing it should not have not worked again after that hit. You know what I mean? And it never worked again. I actually wound up rebuilding it and replaced the guts, and now it works. But
let me ask you a question. In that situation, just try to think back. I know at the time there wasn't much moon, so there couldn't have been too much light.
No, not that night.
But can you remember how close you were to the bushes? Were you within, what was the distance?
Maybe 2 feet, maybe.
So there was a little gap between you and the bush.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
that's why and it was funny because Chad had the camera, and I was really hoping it was facing that way, but I don't know if it was or not. I never got to review it.
Right. That's interesting though, man. But 168 was held in our primary research area, and that's where I've seen these creatures, and we've caught them on film there. But the tracks and everything, a couple thousand tracks out of this area over the course of 6 years. So, I mean, it didn't actually surprise me when I was getting text messages it was actually like 1 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you're texting me.
Probably right.
What is going on out here? You know what I mean?
That's probably right. I was saying stuff that night. I was like, Mark didn't say it was going to be like this.
Yeah, no, you did say that.
I said that out loud. It's got to be on recording.
It's interesting to me because the place that you described and how you were approaching a certain spot and all that place is where we've had many different things happen, where my wife's been hit, with rocks in the head. I mean, they've done all kinds of stuff out there. And we've always had a very cautious attitude out there because of that, In the other areas that we've found groups, we've never had that kind of stuff happen. So I kind of knew that having that many people, the whole 168 crew was there the first night. I think we had 17 or 18 people on that trail or something like that. It was, and that whole situation at that time in the morning, they're not used to it.
7. I think we had 7 that night.
7?
If I'm not mistaken, it was me, Jim, and Chad coming up one way.
I know we had
and then Blake and
you guys had 7 in your group.
It was me. We went in 2 different directions.
Yeah, well, we were in the back, and what we were trying to do.
Jim and Chad went in one way, and then Blake and Chris Noel and oh my God, I can't think who else. Well, one other person came up the other way. You're
talking about on the night you went in.
The flashlight night.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's probably accurate, but just looking at the situation is that area is where a lot of we call it like abuse, man. In the end, we're just hiking down the trail, and you know what I mean. And like these things they have a bad attitude in that spot, So I wasn't surprised the next morning when I came, and everybody was had their stories about stuff being thrown at them, and you were obviously tripping, man. I couldn't even. I understood, the rock stuff, but that kind of interaction is physically aggressive, like coming up, messing with an individual like that. And we haven't heard of that. You're the first one. You know what I mean? I mean, hitting by rocks, yeah, but man, we've been that close to them and heard them growl within 4 to 6 feet of us. And it's a disturbing thing that you never forget how, you know, big the thing sounds and you know, everything. But I couldn't imagine having something knocked out of my hand. The uncomfortability of knowing that it was that close to me and what they are, especially what I know now. I probably go back, you know, because that's getting too close.
Well, like I said, I can't explain it. But that's what happened, you know.
It sounds like he reached out from the bushes and smacked it.
There's got to be. Jim had the parabolic on full. There's got to be audio, and Chad had the camera on, but he, like I said, he was 60, 70 yards back.
Yeah.
So,
well, those are the kind of situations that we're in a lot. So, you know, I mean, you always hope something's running, but it definitely needs a review, and I know that stuff exists. So at some point we will be, right? You know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Like that counting coup, you know, like where they're doing a counting coup on you almost.
Yeah.
Get us close and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
I just don't understand.
They've been known to do that in that spot, man. Now, one of the reasons why that spot was chosen is because the experiences that we have in that place are undeniable. And in point of fact, there were many other ones. I'm sure I can interview 5 more people that were on the trail during that week that will have stories about undeniable experiences where these things were standing up screaming because they were pissed that 168 was on the trail. Like stuff was going on. Undeniable stuff, and so a lot of people got those experiences, but physical contact, if that is indeed what happened, is to me is incredible, Mike. It really is, you know.
Well, like I said, nothing hit my hand, but the flashlight left my hand in a big hurry.
Yeah,
you know,
And
like it's not like I felt anything.
When something like yards your whatever object you have in your hand, it kind of like throws your arm too a little bit.
That's
like
exactly
that
what it
force kind of just like.
That's
so
exactly
you know that something came from some other direction. Like it's not like you're just swinging along and whoo.
And it's not like there was anybody next to me to swing a branch or something that could have knocked it out. You know what I mean? It just left. It went from a sitting position to 8 feet and 6 feet in front of me.
To me, it makes perfect sense with what we catch on film and where they're at on film. They're always right up on the trail, and they're always right there with their faces poking out, and you can see their arm over here and this and that, and they're looking at you. So we know that right there is what's going on. The shocking part for me, like I said, is that this thing actually had the nerve to reach out and do that. But in the past, just alone, Crypto Realities conducted probably close to 300 expeditions just in that area alone in 7 years. So the interaction that we've had, maybe they're getting to the point where they're so used to humans that they're just going to start messing with them to the point where if you're 2 feet away, they'll smack a 2-foot flashlight out of your hand.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100% on the timeline, but if I'm not mistaken, what everybody's talking about Blake filming whatever crossed the trail that night, I might be a little off, but I think that was happening at the same exact time as the flashlight thing. But they were coming in from the other way. We were coming in from one direction. They were coming in from the other direction. I might be off by a little bit, but I'm pretty sure he filmed that thing crossing the trail, whatever it was, while that was happening with me and Jim and Chad.
Wow, that's interesting. But, you know, it's also common on that trail, right? I saw in 2000.
Well, that also means there was 2 different events at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's common. Like, stuff's crossing the trail all the time. That's what I shoot that trail. I have shot that trail, man.
It's almost like a distraction.
Yeah, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, who knows?
I mean, if you know that area, that's an L too. The crossroads is really like an L, you know. So we were coming from 2 different directions, but we were going to meet at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. You know, the other nights, you were in on the other nights as well. Is that correct?
No, that was the only night I went out, actually.
So after that, well, before we move on, we got to know this, right? What were you thinking since that was the only night you went out? that it stopped you from going back? What was your whole take on it? You didn't understand it, or you?
Well, that's not actually what stopped me from going back. I live fairly close to 160, where the campsite was. So I had other stuff going on, and I had to go back to.
Okay.
I was about 48 minutes from the site at the time, and
So
I had
you
other
were
stuff
working.
going on. I did want to come back. I really did, and I did come back a couple times. I was there
Yeah,
for the
that's what I'm saying.
daytime. We went out. I saw you two or three of the nights, and
Yeah.
2 or 3 of the days. I was there for the day and the night.
Yeah, because I was still working. I was still fishing at the time, so I was
I
working.
remember. Yeah, I
I
remember.
was trying to get
Yep.
there. I still got there a lot though, man. It was a long week though.
Mhm.
I'll tell you that, man.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
And everybody had their own stuff going on at the same time too.
Yeah.
Everybody's life goes on when you're over there.
So what do you think about this, Jackie? I mean, have you ever heard of anything like this where your experiences with interviewing people
No.
backed out of their hand?
No, and that's why it's almost like a coup. Like I've heard, you hear all these stories of, I find so intriguing.
You mean a joke, correct?
Well, it's not like a gag. It's a rite of honor, a rite of passage for the younger,
For the young.
to go up and they basically are able to touch the staff of the opposite tribe without being noticed, without being seen, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's almost what it seems like. Like a lot of these stories almost it lines up with a lot of that kind of
juvenile
behavior.
That's nice. That's nice. So they were playing mess with the goofy looking human. That's awesome.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what they've been doing with us, They've been doing that with us. The funniest thing that's ever happened to me was in the beginning, I got hit in the back of the neck, and it slapped right on it by a slobber-covered pine cone that had all the seeds ate off of it. And it was completely chewed, and it just was soaked as if it had been in this thing's mouth for like an hour or something, man. And I had slobber all over the back of my neck, and it like literally slapped up onto my ear. It was like, and he was like 10 feet away, and we heard him run off.
Jeez.
It was almost like he did it and laughed and ran. You know what I mean? Because at that point we were driving him nuts. We were in there every day driving him nuts. But it's interesting that you bring that up. And the word you used is that an Amerindian term or a native term? Coup.
Mm-hmm. Coup. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. Young braves or warriors testing themselves. I've heard of that all through oral tradition. So. But the other stuff about 168, right, is that so you're saying, just so we're all clear here before we move on, that it wasn't about you not wanting to go back on the trail at night?
No.
Because you've done that since then.
Yeah. I went back with you, with Jim, with Bobby. Me, Bobby, and Jim's younger son actually went back. It was dark when we went back. We went back at nighttime. We started out in the day. We stayed till night. And
any incidents or anything strange at the night?
Not that time. No, not that time we went.
That's interesting.
It was pretty quiet, actually.
That's the
pattern. And it was actually a different feeling too. I think actually Bobby said it the first time when we were down there. He said, "This does not feel like any of the nights at 168."
Yeah.
And we were at the crossroads. It was a completely different feeling. Jim said the same thing. So did I.
The places like that, when they're there, the air.
You just knew there was nothing. That night we went back. It was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like you just felt it.
I also know that you like going in this area and
mm-hmm.
because this
we've been back a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not just this one, but other ones,
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe enlighten us a little bit on some of this investigative stuff you've been doing, because I know you text me all the time with some of the most fascinating stuff and really some potential with stuff to blow lid off of stuff. But I'd love to hear a little bit about how all of this stuff occurs, man, because the text messages I get all the time are real interesting with the
I got to be honest, I'm learning from
loggers and all this stuff going on.
I'm learning from Jimmy Barr and Bobby White. I mean, they're showing me the ropes. I'm only through 3, maybe 4 years into actually actively looking. I had some stuff happen to me when I was younger that piqued my curiosity, but it's nothing definitive and nothing even really worth talking about. But it was enough to pique my curiosity. It was upstate New York, and years later, I just started, chasing it, getting back into it, and I'm learning from them. They pretty much know what to do. I mean, if you could put it in any way, it's Jimmy likes to run in. That's all there is to it. He wants to go in. It's like, I mean, and I'm the same way. He's got me like that now. Bobby's the same way. And the three of us, if you say, everybody says that, they got them on their property, and especially recently, a lot of people have been coming forward.
Yeah.
Get in touch with one of us. If they're really there, we're not going to disrespect anything. We're not there to hurt anybody or do anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. If one of these things tries to hurt a human, you, Bobby, Jimmy, anybody, he's going to win the room temperature challenge real quick. But other than that, we don't want anything. We don't want to disrespect your land or nothing. But everybody says, oh, they're definitely on my property. They're definitely on my property. Okay, get in touch with one of us, because I know Jimmy Ball will walk right in the front door. He don't care. Jimmy will. Where is it? Over there? Okay, that's where we're going. Yeah. And that's really what we want to do. We know it might be dangerous. We but I don't know. We just want to see it. We want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it, man. Especially if, well, what's the deal with that? Have you had an encounter where you actually saw it yet, or has it been where you've heard it, or what's the deal? Why
Bobby and Jimmy, they have had some good results in Ocala National Forest. They've had some good results. So they have some pretty good pictures. They found some insane prints, and that was actually before I actually started going out with them. And I mean, they had some really nice stuff. I mean, you've seen it all, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
All the print. Yeah, they found stuff, and I don't know. I'm learning from them. That's pretty much it. They show me the ropes pretty much.
That's great.
They're more of the scalpel. I guess I'm more of the sledgehammer. You can put it that way.
I got you. So the areas that you guys are going into, a couple of times you've been with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you've been with me, have you had any experiences, or have you been into other research areas that we've study, and have you had any experiences while you're in there?
We've been to, I know the numbers. We've been to all the research areas, all of those. Mm-hmm. You reviewed the video, the video I sent you, and you showed that one turning its head or whatever it was, and it was looking at me. You said, I got my attention. I didn't see that. You showed it to me, but that was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what was happening when that happened? Why were you shooting?
Richard was a little ahead of me and Matt. He was walking down the trail, and he said he heard kind of clacking. I think that's what he said, clacking.
Okay.
And we all stopped and went to the canal edge. I just started filming. I think actually Jimmy had just thrown some apples, because he was sitting there in the original footage I sent you. Jimmy's standing there with an empty bag leaning on his walking stick, and I'm sitting there looking across. That's when I panned across with the camera, and then you wound up finding that footage and seeing. Yeah, because you were able to put it in the editor, right? We didn't see it,
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, there's only one thing in that shot that has the achromatic diffusion thing going on, and that's typically what it is. You know what I mean? So. And looking at it, when you have a couple of different people hearing the same occurrence, and then somebody points a camera over there, mm-hmm. Generally, if the noise was real and the three people heard it, then it's not a stretch to actually get to see what was making the noise. You know what I mean? But if it comes out that it's a Bigfoot, then that's when people kind of run into trouble. You know what I mean?
Matt had the parabolic going. And he's got some pretty good audio. Did he let you listen? He send that to you?
I did not get to hear the audio from that day, but yeah, everybody's been sending me shots from that expedition.
And yeah, Rich had some. I don't think Jimmy. Actually, I think Jimmy had the video of that flattened out area that was hollowed out. I think I showed you those when we were out last Sunday on my phone, but Jim had those. The video I sent you. What else was there? I forget.
Well, we have the expedition we did on Sunday. The footage is incredible. So, I'm really excited about going there a Sunday again. I mean,
yeah, we'll be back there Sunday.
But I know you've had stuff happen on that trail in the daytime. Isn't that right?
Which one?
About stuff being thrown. I know when I was with you, we had
when you were with me, the pine cone came flying over. Yeah, it was still spinning. It was still spinning when I turned around.
It's interesting, man, how every time we go there, regardless of whether it's day or night, if you mill around too long, stuff starts getting thrown at you. If you're just passing through, it seems like they let you go and nothing happens. But if you're milling around in there and you're hanging out and irritating or something like that, what about you, Jackie? You have any questions for Mike about any of the occurrences or anything?
Yeah, prior to getting involved with 168, I mean, you kind of touched a little bit on it, but what was your interest in Bigfoot and Sasquatch?
Well, when I was very young, I had something happen with a family member by the Adirondack Mountains, upstate New York. And I can't really talk about that because he's a police officer and he's got sons that are still in it. Anyway, I really can't touch on that. But it was years later when I was, 17 or 18 years old. I moved up to Binghamton, New York, Port Crane, actually. It's upstate New York from the city, from Long Island, where I was from.
Oh, okay.
I lived there for like 3 years, and I was in the woods, and I was walking my dog, Seven, and we were going down this, it was like a little river that led into the Susquehanna River. And like I said, all of a sudden, a very big, not that big, but it was a log. It was a decent sized log, landed in the water. I didn't see where it came from. I don't really know what happened. I know that my dog, that was the way she liked to walk. And she turned around, did an about face, and wanted to go back the other way. And she's never done that the whole time I've owned her. She was going her way no matter what. We started heading back, and I don't know actually what else landed in the water, but we heard the splashes to the point where both of us turned around. So I picked up the pace, and we got the hell out of there. And ever since then, I went in, I was a welder for a long time. I built custom choppers, and I kind of forgot about it for a while, but it was always in the back of my head. And then it wasn't till, I don't know, maybe 3 years before 168, I started actively watching the shows and getting back into it and trying to follow it. And then, I heard about Kerry and then obviously Mark, and lo and behold, I'm in Mark's backyard. We live right near each other. Yeah, so that's why I messaged Kerry that day, told him, hey, I think I know where 168 is, trying to be slick. Yeah. And he says, no, you don't, but come anyway. And that's all history after that.
That's awesome. So are you it sounds like you're taking part in a lot more investigations with a couple more people as well that were in 168.
Me, Jimmy Barr, and Bobby White. We were really, we met the first day at 168 and we clicked, and that was it. We were, they put me on their team, and that was it.
You guys live kind of each other, right? You guys are a little bit closer. Or
me and Jim live kind of close to each other. Bobby lives up North Florida a little bit. Yeah, but we're like the Three Stooges.
It's funny.
Have you cast any tracks yourself?
I have not. No, Bobby and Jim have. Bobby actually Sunday Jim showed Mark his 3-toed print.
Oh.
When we were out Sunday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, he's got a whole trackway. He texted me about it. And you know what? While I remember, I also want to remind everybody they can watch the She Squatchers on the community tab on the Bigfoot Odyssey YouTube page. So just go to the community tab. If you click on that, it's in the members only area. So just Kerry wanted me to make sure I mentioned that. Can't forget about those girls. They're doing a great job, man. Doing a great job. So. But anyway, Mike, what do you think about all this, right? Like, you've been in the field several times. So give us the take. What's your take, man? Because here you are. You're like, basically, from what you just said, I think, judging the way I see what's going on and when you're in the field and how diligent you're pursuing, you actually want an encounter.
Oh yeah.
You really
That's
do.
That's the whole point. That's what I want to. I want to see one. Period. End of story.
So
It might be. I know it's dangerous, and I know they say all of that, but okay.
yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, what do you think? Because this is a unique opportunity for us to like talk.
What do I think as far as what?
Well, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think how do you think you're going to feel about it? It's before now, and see, if you're hanging out with us, it's probably inevitable if you go enough. So
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
so that
That's
we
like
can-
asking what's it going to be like when the grenade goes off. I have no idea. It's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. I know. For me, it was like it was at first it was like really, really cool, and then it was suddenly really, really bad when it wouldn't go away, and then it was like really, really irritating, and now it's like it's just a part of like.
Yeah, I didn't have different levels. When the flashlight got knocked out of my hand, there was no. You just said 3 different levels. There was no different levels. I had a lump in my throat I used to piss with when it happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about as the years have gone by, like, but I make it a point to keep it in my forefront, the entire thing. And so I know enough about you to know that your sincerity is incredible, man, because I'm seeing you going in with these guys, and from a researcher standpoint, in the first couple of years, I was real big on that. And then I had my encounters and I started catching them on film and we started learning. And then that's when I was like, yeah, I'm all set. I'll stay back now. You know what I mean? So only time I want to get close is
I ain't got that yet.
and hopefully there's a camera. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I ain't got that yet. I mean, I know, like I said, I can't even emphasize it enough. Like, hey, there's a Sasquatch over there. Jimmy will swan dive into the bushes.
well, you know what, man, Mike, this is not something
wrong with him, really.
This is not something. It's not something unique because, like, I could see in your personality, right? Like, you have a history of being willing to jump off the cliff and do stuff other people won't. Like the Discovery.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah,
Discovery Channel stuff. Like, a lot of people wouldn't take challenges like that in front of others and in front of national TV, but you did.
What? The biker build off. Yeah,
the biker.
Well, I worked for some. It's not like it was my shop. I worked for somebody else, but we won. So
Yeah,
we did a couple episodes. So.
Yeah, and it's cool, but you know what I'm saying?
Another life ago, though, man. That was another life ago.
Right, but this is like, I can tell you, because I've been on stage a lot in my life, performing, and
Me too.
Music and all that kind of stuff, and so I understand that for me, one of the reasons that I still do it has to do with that 30-second charge that shoots through my chest when it happens. And
well, it's funny because you got a lot of detail. So does Jimmy, so does Bobby, and all 3 of you are musicians. I'm not. I play mean radio. That's about it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to see it. I hope it happens Sunday. And who knows? We're in the right area, so
that'll be cool.
What do you think, Jackie?
Has because you guys are talking about musicians and being musicians, has anybody actually gone out there and just played music? Like you see those videos of them playing for elephants and all cows, and they're so moved by it.
Yeah, we got our best footage in 2015 in the initial first 4 months of our shooting. Some of our best footage from 2015 was playing music. And I performed probably 6 songs on an acoustic guitar with vocals and everything because I write music and songs.
Okay.
And so, but Melanie was shooting the entire time in the respective area, and we did manage to catch. And it's in 168, the film, the documentary. It's the one that's big black face coming through the bushes. The reason that happened was I played and did it for like an hour straight, and then they were there. They had been there watching. It turned out. So I think that stuff did work, and I thought it was cheesy, and I didn't want to do it because it was on TV, and I was like, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. And she's like, "Shut up, pick the guitar up, let's go."
Good for her.
Well, Melanie forced me to do it, but I was glad because we got the footage, man. You know, you can
What'd
see
you play?
it's blinking, and it's like, you know.
What'd you play?
I played a couple Alice in Chains songs and a bunch of my stuff.
Cool.
It was cool, you know.
Well, music has a way. I mean, besides the resonance and all of that that goes with the music, but there's something like it always touches people in different ways. Like no matter what, someone will hear a song and it will either bring in memories or it'll, you know, bring up some kind of emotion, some kind of happy thing, you know, all sorts of different things, but it touches people uniquely different. And so I don't know, I'd be really intrigued to see more of that.
We did it another time. And we got a track that was 3 toes. I played my electric guitar. I was blasting like, you know, Ozzy solos and Zakk Wylde solos and stuff through my little amp. It's a battery powered amp. And we got one to come in, and there was a 3-toe. It left a 3-toe track that had like a scar and a nub on one side of its foot where you could see it literally legitimately had a deformity or it was injured, you know.
Wow.
But Mike, I had another question for you, man. Now, because you didn't really, it was like a 2-part question. The other side of it was, what's your take on what's going on, and what do you think about what you've been seeing in the footage that in these areas where you had the flashlight knocked out? And see, we go in and then there's these little occurrences.
To be honest with you, it's like 10 steps forward and 9 steps back, because something like that'll happen, and then like I said, me, Jim, and Bob will go back and dead, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And then we stop that night, that time it was me, Rich, Jim, the footage that I sent you. Rich heard the clacking. We stopped. We went to the edge. Nobody saw or heard nothing else that time. We sent you the footage.
Yeah.
And you found that.
Yeah.
None of us seen or heard anything after that. That was it.
Right.
But you found that in there, you know.
What about this? What about what's going on up in Okeechobee, man? Is there anything going on up there? What about some of the stuff you've heard? Can you share any of that? The stuff that maybe you heard from some of your friends that maybe.
I got in touch with a couple Native American here, and they're Seminoles, and they have all sorts of stories. It's hard to distinguish. I mean, I got to be honest with you. The one guy that told me something, he was very drunk, but he had a lot of detail. So that like piqued my curiosity because he was very detailed, you know. And then I told you about the one story I heard about one of the, I guess you would call him an elder. He tells stories about a one-legged Sasquatch that was up in the Seminole Reservation for pretty much the whole time his grandfather was a child. And he told that to his grandson, and then his grandson told me, and for whatever it's worth, and they believed that because for whatever reason this one only had one leg, that's why he was seen so much, because he was slower than the rest or whatever, that's how he displayed it to me anyway. But and he said it's more than him too. There's detailed like 2, 3, 4 different people that all talk about the one-legged Sasquatch. However it happened, alligator, disease, whatever.
And this is like the Big Cypress area of the Everglades, correct?
No. North of Okeechobee, north of Lake Okeechobee, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm right here right now for 2 more months. I could step out my door, walk 10 feet, and dive into Lake Okeechobee. I'm right here. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. So up there in that area, have you been milling around at all?
A little bit. I sent you that footage. I went out with the son, the grandson. I'm sorry. Yeah, I went out with him, and he took us out, and nothing really happened. But he showed us different areas. And when he had his encounter, he said he was in his teens, his early teens. He's in his late 30s now. He said that he came face to face with one.
Nice.
And he said it was 50. I mean, man, how many years ago was that? I can't even remember how to say it. Remember I told you on the phone the other night what he said to it? He said he put his left hand up and said the Indian phrase.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I can't.
I think you said
Hata or something. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
I forgot it already. That's how great I am. Like I told you, Jim and Bobby at a scalpel. I'm more the sledgehammer.
Oh,
I
that's
can't even remember what the.
right.
But
Right.
I said it correctly that night to you. So, and
Right.
he said he was told by his elders to put his left hand up and say that phrase, and he swears that the thing did the same thing back to him. Put its left hand up and said "Ata e," or whatever the phrase was.
And then
Then
walk.
turned around and walked away.
Wow.
And that was it.
What do you
Wow.
think about that, Jackie?
Oh, that would be so powerful. I can't even imagine what that moment would be like. That would be a moment. That would be what I find really fascinating. I think one of the she squatchers is Ojibwe, if I'm not mistaken. And so she could probably tell us, what that was being said and that communication that was taking place.
I
But
think
When the grandson told me, he said that he barely remembered it too. He remembered hearing it when he was young, and he was so frightened, and he did it, and it did it back.
wow.
And he didn't blink, he didn't falter, he didn't, look to the left or whatever the hell they say you do when you lie or whatever. Like he was dead straight. He was looking straight at me.
that's fallible. It's not always.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, in looking at it, it's like, and here's the thing: it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing knew the phrase. They're very good at repeating what's been said. Trust me, I've heard stuff in the bushes, man. You know what I mean? And you look at what I hear all the time from other researchers that they're mimicking, animals and this and that. It's not a stretch for the thing just to do exactly, you know what I mean, or something, something similar. And maybe the guy was like just freaked out that it was close enough.
Yeah, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
that was one of the better stories. That was like I said, for what it's worth. He's in his late 30s now. He was in his early teens when that happened. So
yeah. Well, I mean
but it was the Seminole Reservation right here. So
I couldn't imagine it. But you go into that town where you're at, and everybody knows. I've been in that town for almost 35 years, and I've talked to dozens of people, man. I knew people who used to live there in various cities all around that lake. And if there's a good portion of forest in their town, man, they all have stories, and they all just accept it as like, yeah, whatever. It's not real, whatever.
I had one gentleman look me straight in the face because he told me his history with the Native Americans and everything. I said, "Oh, I bet you got stories about them." He said, "Yeah, I do." Turned around and walked away.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like that.
Look, I mean, with an attitude, yeah, I do. And he turned around and walked away.
And you're not going to hear it kind of
No,
attitude.
no, you're not.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, locals, I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? I mean, listen, I know for a fact that if I had them on my property, you'd never know it. You'd never know it. I'd never tell a soul. You know what I mean? Just keep them safe. You know what I mean? Because what we see is that down here in Florida, at least, the habitat it's dwindling, man. And what they've protected, sure, they've protected it, but we've also seen where that has actually been violated down here. So, these areas that you go into, Mike, we've investigated thoroughly down in these areas. You know what I mean? Like, now, and a lot of what we see suggests that, there's no way that you couldn't know that there's an apex predator, an omnivore, tearing up everything in the area, displacing any competition as far as alpha predator status goes, and draining the area of every biological resource. If you're an academic and you're in these areas, and they are there, and they're tasked with conducting these studies, obviously, if laymen like myself and Mike and Jackie can have these experiences in these areas, surely the people who document every single snail and test every drop of water for contaminants are fully aware of the 9, 10, and 11-foot hominoids that occupy the area. We would be remiss to think that these intelligent people aren't actually just omitting this from the data. You know what I mean? And so looking at these areas, it doesn't shock me that you've had this experience in the one where you get with the flashlight. It really doesn't.
What are your thoughts on that aspect of it? Like, it does seem like there is a cover up. I mean, no matter what angle you come from, to the subject, you can't help but get to a point where it's like a wall. You run up against this wall that everybody runs up against, the same wall, and you get to like, okay, we're all here. And you can't go any further. It seems like there's just like this little factor.
Well, academia, you know, in the end of all of it, I really believe academia is under a yoke. Financing for any studies that they conduct has a lot of competition, and so you want that grant next year.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what the study is, you're going to do the right thing to jump through the hoop that the grant makes you qualify for. That's the thing. See, most people don't realize scientific funding isn't like, here's $100,000, do whatever you want with it. There are very specific goals, and you have to meet expectations on a quarterly basis with reports, and sometimes on a monthly basis. It just depends on where you got the money. There's no money available for this, for academia, first of all. But second of all, who's going to step out of the box and do this and then try to go after a grant legitimately in some publication when your reputation says you have a history of looking at this?
Yeah.
This is why no one wants to move forward. There's no protection and there's no funding. Those two things change.
Well, plenty of people want to move forward.
And some funding, and this might change. You know?
It seems like the more that people are even able to have these conversations, and the more comfortable that they feel sharing this information, you know, we are learning a lot through everybody's encounters and their experiences. And it's really powerful when you get to hear a lot of them, you know, and really get to pull in a lot of the different stories and go, you know what, there's these pieces that are these threads that go through all of them consistently. You know, and that beauty of finding, you know, as an analyst, someone that, you know, a lot of my time was spent analyzing data. And so when you're looking at it, you can't go into it with any confirmation biases. The data has to show you the results, you know, and if your data is skewed, you're going to have skewed results, you know, and I'm just so intrigued by how much more we have to learn from the people that are still in the background going, I'm just not ready to share yet. I'm just not ready to share yet. And I think they've got photos, they've probably got videos, they've probably got incredible evidence, but they just don't want to put themselves out there.
They also have a pension. Or
exactly.
They also have
That's true.
Active grants and active responsibilities or tenure.
That's very true.
Tenure is like, that's the death curse for tenure. We've seen from the academic community where this subject is concerned, and scientists who come forward are always, they're either ostracized or attempts are made to ostracize them from the academic community in ways that are very public and extremely defamatory.
Yeah, but look at Meldrum. Meldrum got around it.
They're wrong. These people are wrong, and they're attacking people for being objective about this. That's the plain view of it, right? I mean,
look at Meldrum. Meldrum got around it.
Yeah, but
he didn't get destroyed.
So as Meldrum it's like they always say, man, it's real hard to depose the man once he's in office, right? And so
that's like he had too much behind him when he finally came out. Like when someone has that much behind them, it's hard to start taking whacks at them.
They tried early.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But I mean, if you can impeach a president, you can impeach a professor.
That's true.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But you know, the planes just looking at what happened in that whole timeline will explain itself if people just really look at that timeline and all the information as it transmitted, the study that he put out after all of the hullabaloo with the stripping of tenure nonsense. All of this stuff is all fully explained. The guy went from an objective review of a track on national television to eliminating every aspect of the human aspects of the foot tracks in the actual data of the study. Not a single mention. It's all about something else. And it's like, okay, yeah, obviously we can all see it, but in the end, these are the aspects of the track that are difficult for other academics because it doesn't have an opposing toe, like a gorilla or something. It's got the human aspect of it. And in the end, that's a problem when you have a mid-tarsal break present. That's not there. The two shall meet. You see, and without some of this, diddling going on somewhere in the history, you can't get non-human primate characteristics in a human primate. I mean, looking at the whole thing, this is where he actually literally, without saying the word hybrid, described and used the definition of hybridism. He said the track appears to have both human and non-human primate characteristics. I listened to it and I watched it 1,000 times. When he said it, I cheered because he was the first man in history to say it. What everybody already thought. He came out and said it, and he had letters after his name. And I followed that with every.
Does anybody besides him have any samples with dermal ridges? Who else has samples with dermal ridges besides Meldrum?
I'm sure people have them. I don't have anybody offhand, but I mean, I know for one thing, some of the trackways that we found had dermal ridges in them. It's just the material that we cast in was not good for accepting that. It was simple, like plaster. You know what I mean? I did anything I could to find it in the area that I found the tracks. I left and went and tried to find it. I could not find the right material that I needed.
I told you I want to try that AB foam, right?
Yes.
The stuff they use for fence posts now.
Yeah.
You go to Home Depot and get it. 2 parts. You crack each bag, mix them together, pour it in. Sets in like a few minutes.
It sounds good, and I heard it'll take detail like crazy, right?
It'll hold a fence post and form, you know. You don't got to carry water and plaster anymore.
Yeah, see, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I want to try one. I'm going to have Jim step in mud and cast it.
You guys haven't experienced any harassment in the areas yet, huh?
No.
Other than the camera attacks every time.
Well, yeah, the camera attacks. Jim had his go down at 30% multiple times. You had yours go down.
That's so weird when that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be one thing if it was when we were deep in areas, but it's not. It happens to me when I get out of my truck. It's happened to me at least 15 times, and I'm just leaving my truck. I have to go back after walking away 10 feet and put another battery in, and walking away again 10 feet, 3 batteries in a row. I just leave the camera, man. You know what I mean? It's like.
You wound up shooting with your backup last Sunday.
I had to, I actually had 2 backups with me. I'm learning the lesson, you know what I mean? But the deal is my backups don't look like cameras. So whoever's doing this targeted, and this is the interesting thing. My camera was on a tripod, but in every other instance, I had another camera. I had my iPad, and I left my good camera, which was basically reset to default, and all my settings lost for shooting at the truck in the morning. So I took the iPad, and Mikey was standing right next to me, and Jimmy was right there too. And I was shooting, and it was on 30. It still had 30% left, and it just shut off as Jimmy was walking up to me talking about how his camera just shut off. So
happened to Jim. That's happened to Jim so many times.
Yeah.
Especially it happened 2 times after 168 at the same spot the flashlight thing happened.
Well, this is the thing.
2 times.
That stuff is new. We've been there for years and never had any of this, man. I mean, this is new stuff, and it's happening everywhere all of a sudden. Everywhere we go. And so, it's like really weird. But the thing is if I use my camera and I have it, and I have another camera in my pocket, because I have the Osmo small, the Osmo still works. So I don't believe I'm entering a field of any type that drains batteries. And I certainly don't think I'm being hit with a large scope field of it, because it would have drained the Osmo too. I had the iPad was less than 12 inches from the Osmo, and the Osmo was unaffected. And I shot footage with it. So something strange is going on with that, Mike. I don't know what to say about it, man. But, I mean, we have.
I don't either.
But Mike,
I know that if Jim's camera didn't die the day the pine cone came flying, when me, you, and Jim were standing on the same trail, if it didn't die a little bit before that, he faces that behind him. He would have had the pine cone flying onto the trail.
We could have saw it. Yeah.
But conveniently, his camera died right before it happened.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it wasn't just that. That same day, his camera appeared to be filming when in fact they were corrupted files it was producing.
That's happened multiple times to him too.
Again, luckily, I was filming Jimmy as he was filming corrupted files, and what was in the background was a 9-foot hominoid. And so
that was the day where you told us to look left.
That's right.
We still joke about that. Look left.
Look left.
Yeah. Not watch out for the 12-foot tall monster. Just
I know, right?
To look left.
Yeah, look left.
Thanks, Mark.
Sometimes I look over that way. It was funny. That was kind of funny. It's
almost the same amount of syllables. You could say, watch out for the 12-foot monster, okay?
I know, right? But you know what? The whole thing is fascinating. And I just want to congratulate you on doing a good job, because really you are one of the first guys to like literally just go, so what do I do? And I'm like, just when you hear something, point your camera there. And you're like doing it and sending me footage. It's the third time that you sent me footage and there was something in it.
Yeah, but my footage is not that great. And I admit my footage is not that great. I look like I'm getting electrocuted every time I send a video.
It's everywhere. But, you know, you get those couple of frames, man, and you're telling me you got hit by a rock, or you're telling me something was thrown, or you're telling me you're hearing stuff. So there's
something was thrown. Yeah, I never got hit, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there's corroboration to what you're saying is what I'm saying, you know, or it was somebody else, you know, something. And that's good follow through. That's good, man, you know. And I can tell you right now, you keep going in those areas and you're going to get your wish.
Well, I hope so.
Let's just hope that's what you really want. Because everybody thinks, oh, it's going to be Patty.
Well, hopefully we find out shortly.
Yeah. What about, do we have any questions for our guest, Mike, from the chat? Are there any questions? Let's take a look. And I know damn well Jim's going to open his mouth right now. Where is Jimmy? I'm trying to find him in here.
Richard was in there. Richard's in the chat.
Rich is in there too? Cool.
Rich is in here? I can't even see him.
Bobby's got to be floating around too.
There's Richard. All right, I see him. I don't see any questions, man. There's not very many questions. So, Mike, I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask you this one more time.
What?
One more time. When you had the thing knocked out of your hand, you didn't hear anything in the bushes next to you.
Nope.
Think about it. Nothing.
I don't have to. I didn't hear a damn thing. I turned around waiting for Chad to say I'm sorry. I thought he was too close and he was swinging his hand or something, and he knocked the flashlight out of my hand. I turned around and Chad was 60, 70 yards behind me. I still had my hand out forward because when it hit me, it extended my hand. And it hit. I was silent waiting for Chad to say, yo, my bad, dude. And Jim goes, isn't that your flashlight? And I turned around and Chad was way, way, way back.
And
I grabbed Jim. I drew my firearm. And
well, how did you feel, man? How did you feel when it wasn't Chad?
Not good.
Explain it.
I didn't feel good at all. I couldn't explain it. There's video of it. I mean, we walked up to the crossroads after that, and I mean, that's when Blake and Noel and all of them guys came down, and we started hearing things, you know, we couldn't tell what it was. I thought it was a cow. And I was still freaked out from what just happened. So I was probably saying that's a cow a little meaner than I should have, but I was still shook up from what happened, you know, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
I even think I might have cursed a couple times.
Richard has said, tell him about the RF readings on Jimmy's head.
Yeah, we got footage of, I have it in the video. I have the whole thing, Rich. So I'm going to let it come out in the Bigfoot Researchers Journal. The episode's almost done.
Rich is trying to get me to curse because I came out with some pretty good jokes when we were on the. You have it on video with Jimmy when he was holding it to his head.
That's in the episode. I'm not taking that out.
All right, do it.
Good. I'm laughing. If you watch the episode, you're going to die laughing. It's so funny because when
we keep the joke, we like to keep the jokes. We all three of us, all four of us, even Mark, we like to keep the jokes flowing.
Oh man!
No matter how weird it gets, we like to keep it.
I had a blast.
Let's say we keep it light. Let's put it that way.
Blast, and Sunday is going to be a blast too. We'll see you guys there, man. Again, right?
Yeah, I think what Matt's coming, Rich is coming, Jim's coming.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. We got traps already in place and ready to go. Where when we get there, we got a plan. It's going to be great, man. So
I didn't even get a chance to tell Jim or Bobby about when I passed there earlier today. I drove past the entrance today. You couldn't even park there. If they had all the town equipment that was there today on Sunday, we'd have to park in the street. They had bulldozers, unmarked cars, marked cars, all towns cars, like construction equipment. And I was like, what's going on? I went and did what I had to do, drove back. By the time I came back, the whole place was empty and everything was gone. I even text Mark.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad. So, listen, man, thanks for coming on the show tonight. Jack, you got anything else?
Yeah, man.
You got
No, I've been fascinated. Listen, it's been wonderful meeting both of you, actually.
great
It's
meeting.
good to meet you.
And I'm sure we're going to be able to do this again together. So, but Mike, you've been a great friggin' guest tonight, man. Thanks for coming on. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming on the late show tonight and being with us here. Thanks for supporting Bigfoot Odyssey and Carrie and everybody's mission to educate the general public on what's going on out there, man. Again, Mike, thanks for coming on. We'll see you guys next time.
Not a problem.
Next Friday night on the late show. And don't forget the community tab with the She Squatchers. You got to go check it out. We'll see you next time on the late show.
See ya.